Hey guys, what's going on? Sadiq. Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. Season 2. Experiences with Sadiq is about all things real estate. A show where communication is key, advocating for the people is bliss, and knowledge, it's inspiring. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the show. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms. Whether you're buying or selling a home, I'm that guy. Let's go! So today we're in Newport with my homegirl, Prutha. We're actually going to be rocking some knowledge today. We're going to give you guys some key insights on how a convenience store operates. And in order to do that, my homegirl Prutha is going to basically share everything she knows about the convenience store, about how it works, about everything. Today is straight knowledge. Let's go. You guys know my homegirl Prutha in the real estate game, but before we even start giving you guys the true knowledge that you guys actually need, I want Prutha to really break down who she is, what she about, and what's her whole purpose. What's going on, Prutha?
So I have been in real estate now for over 9 years. I've done commercial leasing in the past. I've done transactions for commercial properties. And today we really want to focus on my knowledge of valuation and analyzing convenience store businesses. So the business component, also the real estate valuation, and then also if there's a gas station included in that deal as well. So I'm going to break down my knowledge between gross profit margins, net sales, what you want to look for net profit margins, payroll costs, all of that. But my experience, I have a lot of commercial experience business-wise and also real estate-wise.
So you've been in the business for quite some time.
Yes. I actually worked at the convenience store, my parents, since I was 12 years old, so that was my first job.
So you basically was raised in
this industry.
In the industry.
Yes.
Great. Which is the reason why I wanted to interview Prutha, because she really has a clear understanding of how the convenience store market works. Everything in regards to a convenience store, gas station, all that crazy stuff. And how did everything come about? I know you started in the business, but how did it really come about for Prutha?
So for me, I bought my first multifamily when I was 21. It was more of an investment decision for me. I've always been very focused on business. I invested in an ATM when I was 17. I've been in this scene, so I kind of know, depending on cigarette sales, tobacco sales, just how the landscape has been changing over the years, how things have been kind of how my dad's been navigating this business, and also inventory management and all of that. So now that I'm in this space, I actually have a lot of contacts in the convenience store industry and people that buy and operate them throughout Rhode Island and also Massachusetts. So there's a few different caveats and we'll go through those as we go on.
So did your education come from your father, or where did all that knowledge of
real estate or convenience stores?
Both, actually.
Okay.
Both.
Convenience stores, my dad, yes,
right.
For sure. Real estate, I kind of learned as I went. When I was 21, I basically just talked to a bunch of mortgage lenders, and I got all of the information. I went FHA, I bought my first home, first for family, and now 9 years later, I'm an investor in a big portfolio, minority investor, but still an investor because it's great passive income. So I kind of learned as I went, but mostly for the business, it was from my dad.
Nice, nice. So we're going to take a walk into a convenience store, and this is where we really get down to the nitty-gritty of the operations of owning a convenience store, what the numbers look like, and just basically, once again, share that knowledge for those who's looking to get into the space of owning a convenience store in that real estate space, right? That commercial aspect of it. So this is for those individuals that looking to dive into that part of the business. Let's go. So basically, right now, we're in Prutha's convenience store right now that her and her family owns. And we're going to dive into, what it takes into running the convenience store, the type of items that you should look at, the numbers, the figures, the whole shenanigans. So Prutha, if you don't mind, let's do a quick breakdown of everything.
So basically, if you take a look around, there's different basically sectors. So you have your convenience store items, your food, grocery. A lot of them will have ATMs. We have an ATM, and then we actually just put in a Bitcoin ATM right over there. So those are all different revenue streams. You have ATM commissions, you have lottery commissions, which is up there, you have cigarette sales, and now we have this other portion over here, which is basically kind of like a mini smoke shop, but it's not, it's more of the paraphernalia. So you want to get all of those figures, you want to know the revenue streams, cost of goods sold are typically 67%, so your gross margin is going to be 33%. So once you have that, you're going to have your gross profit margin that you want to work off of. And then you want your labor costs. Your payroll should be around 10%. That's ideal. And your net profits, you want anywhere between 15 to 20% for your net profit margin.
So if you don't mind, so for some of you guys, the number, what she's spitting out might be a little technical or a little mathematical. So if you don't mind, cost of goods sold, net profit.
Yes.
Let's simplify it for the viewers.
Okay. All right. So for example, we can walk through and I can show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. Something like this is going to have a higher margin than something like batteries, for example, or even medicine, NyQuil, Tylenol, whatever that is. Other things you want to look at are, so inventory cost, one, that's cost of goods sold. Second is the age of the coolers, the equipment in the property, in the business. Those are all things that are very important. Now, if you're looking to buy also the property, right now valuation is going for about 8 to 9% for a cap rate. And we can break that down for you with a hypothetical.
Nice. So now you mentioned about refrigeration, you mentioned about the items and the products. Why does refrigeration matter in terms of the update or the upkeep of it?
Right.
Versus a refrigerator that's an older version.
Because if you can turn around and take a look at these are high ticket items, like minimum 20 to 30 grand. Also, they only have a certain shelf life, maybe maximum 7 to 10 years.
All right.
Sometimes you can get more out of them, but the upkeep, the maintenance of them is all very important for your business because these are huge sales right here. Water, Red Bull, soda, all the frozen items. But you have to be very strategic about how much of each type of inventory, and that has to do with your market too. You have to analyze your market. We're in Newport. This is a huge tourist town. In the off season, it's mostly locals. So we have to appease both parties.
Great point. So, and all this is obviously done over the course of time. Your family has been running this business for a while, so you guys know exactly the items to purchase,
right?
More of or less of, because obviously that takes into consideration of whatever your profit margin is going to look like at the end of the day, right?
Yep. Yeah.
In terms of profit margin, you mentioned a percentage that your profit margin should be.
Ideally, you want it to be between 15 to 20%. Now,
why is that?
That's just the standard across the board when you're looking at convenience stores. Here, because we are in a prime area and we're right downtown, a lot of our prices are higher. So the profit margin in this type of place is going to be higher naturally.
Great point.
Yeah, so it depends on where you're at. Tourist locations, people will say, you're charging way too much for water, and sometimes it comes with the territory. Yeah. And as things change, like when there was the gluten-free, whole kick and being vegan and all that, we wanted to cater to those markets as well. So we've been changing things up in here all the time, but you just have to stay on top of the market trends. So
just like any other form of business, same thing goes
with a convenience
store as well. Very interesting.
For example, I had them order this enlightened ice cream because it's kind of like a healthier version of ice cream, but people want that. We're right near Salve Regina, so you have a lot of college students here too. So you just want to make sure you're catering to the masses.
Interesting. Now, as a convenience store owner, for someone who's looking to purchase a convenience store, right?
Right.
And what should they look for? Should they look for, one, the price of the valuation of the building itself, or two, should they look at, the whole, because right now we're working on a transaction, right?
Right.
We're working on a convenience store right now, and you've actually put me on to a lot of things that I didn't understand or didn't know about when it comes to commercial real estate regarding convenience stores. So I truly appreciate that. So if you don't mind, let's utilize the situation that we're dealing with right now with the convenience store.
Okay, so for example, the one that Sadiq and I are working on right now, it's not only a business sale, but it's also a real estate sale. So now when you're doing a valuation, which we have that all broken down, you're doing the real estate value in addition to the business value, and then you combine those to have one total valuation.
Yes.
So now for, like I had mentioned, for the real estate, you want an 8 to 9 cap. Business-wise, you want to know the gross sales, and you want the net profit, basically your bottom line, which is that 15 to 20% number, to be, you're going to use that as your valuation. It's going to be that number times 3 For example, say you are netting $100,000, you're going to value that convenience store, the business, at $300,000. And that's not including goodwill. Goodwill is, anything basically for the inventory you're paying for the business is, reputation, legacy, and you want to know all of the other expenses so you can get those percentages. And you want to know if there's any advex expenses.
What is that?
Advex is basically, so you can basically run other expenses through your business.
Something I didn't know. This is crazy.
This is something that people do. Not everyone does it, but it's something to keep in mind because I've seen it when I've looked at different business transactions and different deals, because oftentimes their numbers won't reflect exactly what they're carrying over on their tax returns. So the K1s will not be the same, and all of their, all the numbers aren't going to match up completely. That's why I always ask for inventory costs and also 2 to 3 years of their financials. Their true financials, not what's on their tax return.
Interesting. Now you mentioned you did something about like you stated something about $100,000 either profit margin or gross
Net
margin.
profit.
Net profit.
Yeah.
But then you said 300,000.
Right.
How does that come into play?
For example, oh gosh, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but say whatever your gross sales are times 15%, 15 to 20%, whatever the goal net profit margin is, whatever you end up with, and I'm taking 100,000 because it's a clean number. When you evaluate that business, you're going to say, okay, if they're making $100,000 bottom line after all their expenses per year, what do you value that business at? It's going to be 300 grand. Typically, it's going to be that number times 3.
Interesting. Now, does this apply to individuals that's looking to purchase, let's say, a gas station or a liquor store? You know what I mean?
It's a little bit different.
All right.
Margins for liquor stores are very different. Beer and wine is going to be different from liquor. So you want to look at different profit margins and how much basically percentage of beer wine sales and percentage of liquor sales that they're doing. Now in Rhode Island, this is an interesting setup. You're not supposed to have liquor and convenience combined unless you're grandfathered in, which I think there's only a handful, or maybe less than a handful.
This is
actually, my dad got creative.
All right.
So this is the convenience store, and right behind, if you see that sign, it says liquor store entrance in the back. So we kind of have a loophole here because we have 2 separate entities and 2 separate businesses in one building.
Interesting.
So that's why he converted his office, or his initial office, into a liquor store. So nowadays, and liquor permits are another thing to consider. Nowadays, liquor permits are very expensive. Depending on the city or town, there's usually a limited amount of liquor licenses, and it's different for liquor sales versus having a restaurant or a hotel. So, for example, that my dad bought this liquor permit, he got a steal. I think it was 13 or 30,000. I can't remember, but they're going for like hundreds of thousands of dollars now. Yeah, especially in Newport.
Yeah.
So that's something that you want to think of too when it's coming to a liquor store. There's definitely different components. Now, if you go to a gas station, you're going to want to know the inside sales, which is, the convenience sales, the lottery sales, the ATM commissions, all of that, all added revenue streams. And then you want to know the outside sales, which is going to be your gas sales, basically. So whether you have a car wash on there, how many cents the owner is getting per gallon based off of the different tiers of gas, so premium, regular, diesel. You want all of that information. That's going to factor into your valuation.
Interesting. So it seems like there's so much intricacies that goes into running a convenience store, gas station, liquor store. Now, has your family ever owned a gas station?
My uncle, yeah.
Your uncle.
My uncle.
So your whole family's into this whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Now, do you do all the numbers and all the figuring for each business that you guys don't run?
I don't do them. I never did the books for the gas station, but I did work there sometimes. So I have an idea of that's how I have the knowledge. You want to know the age of the tanks. You want to know all of that because sometimes people get into these businesses and they don't know to ask for all these things. And then people can throw numbers at you all day long. And like in real estate, it looks great, but then is it really going to work for you?
Exactly.
And also having an operator that's very good at inventory management is important, and payroll is important too. Sometimes people lose a lot of their overhead or spend a lot of their overhead on payroll if they don't know how to manage scheduling.
Interesting. So what would you recommend when it comes to someone who's looking to open up a convenience store? What should be the first thing that they should attack?
Okay, well,
I know that's pretty strong, but
if you have never opened a convenience store in your life, I would personally hire a consultant for inventory management.
Like Proof.
I mean,
Hire Proof.
maybe. Maybe for the purchase, yeah. I don't know about the inventory. I used to do inventory, but that was a long time ago when I was a baby. So now it's like, and you want to know, so if you take a look around this liquor store, everything's well stocked. That's another thing that's going to determine your success in a convenience store, because you don't want to go into places, and we saw both when we were looking at those. The first one was very well stocked. Everything is brought to the front of the shelves. Everything is visually appealing. It's easy to see. You don't want it too cluttered, but it's a convenience store, so you want to maximize your space. The other one that we saw, it was like there was stuff missing. Like it just wasn't well kept.
Disorganized.
It was disorganized. And in any business, you're gonna want to keep reinvesting. I never really understood when my dad would he changed that whole countertop over there. He redid the floors. He put in new freezers, all these things, and now I see it because he's increased revenue and increased profit margin. So these are all things that you want to pay attention to. And then certain things, like we used to have a Dells machine, we used to have a popcorn machine, certain things phase out, you know? That was back in the 90s. So now it's all right, what sells? What do people actually want? And what do we need to dump? So that's basically, that's inventory management is key. That's really important.
I want you to, before we get off this show, I want you to actually go through the numbers one more time.
Okay.
For the viewers, so they can actually see what the numbers look like. And I understand it's all estimates. There's no actual factual numbers that we're working with, but she's going to really simplify how the numbers should make sense or should work. All right. So if you don't mind, let's break that down.
When you're evaluating a business, here's some figures that we can go off of for an example. Say the gross sales for the year are $1 million. You want your cost of goods sold or inventory costs to be around 67% of that. So that's going to be about $670,000 if you're going off of $1 million of gross sales. Your gross profit from that is going to be $330,000, approximately 33% of that top number. Now, the $330,000 you're going to use to cover all of your other expenses. That's going to be rent, utilities, payroll, which I know I had mentioned about it, which should be about 10%. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that, just based off of the economy right now. And any additional expenses like the phone, internet, all of that stuff.
Anything that's overhead.
Anything that's overhead. So then you're going to have your net number. That net number should be hopefully around 15 to 20%. So for this example, I'll take 20%. We're going to net $200,000. That's a net profit margin of 20% based off of that $1 million. Now, when you do the valuation, as I mentioned before, take that net profit and multiply it by 3. That's about a $600,000 valuation, okay, for a store that's grossing about $1 million. And now, keep in mind, these are all very rough numbers. It's not a concrete, follow these percentages to a T. And then you also want to take into account the interior, the equipment, the coolers, all of that, how the store is kept, stocked, and how it's been running in the track record. So yes, these are numbers to go off of and it's a formula, but you're also going to have other things to take into account. That will affect the total value.
Proof, if anybody wants to reach out to you, to ask you questions in regarding convenience store ownership, the process, what to do, or just ask for assistance, how should those individuals, that person, he or she, should contact you?
They can contact me, call me on my cell phone, text, whatever. I'm pretty easy to reach. My number is 401-573-2900, and we can link my email as well if that's easier.
Oh, Jesse's gonna drop that right into it. Right. But you guys know what it is. It's your man Sadiq. If you guys like what you heard today, please don't forget, follow my Facebook page. Actually, just follow all my social media platforms, whether it's my team, my personal brand page, Sadiq Davies, or Experiences with Sadiq, whatever the case may be. And also, if you love what you're hearing and you gain some knowledge, please don't forget, subscribe, follow, like on my YouTube page. Until next time, it's your man Sadiq. Love, peace, and happiness. Let's go.
That was awesome.